scary time. And what's scariest about it, I think, is that, let's see how this thing works. Is that pretty soon, you're not going to be sitting next to that teen. Pretty soon, it's just going to be them in the car, driving, on the Edens, on the tri-state, in the rain, in the snow, at night, by themselves, with the radio on. Or, a Bluetooth from their iPhone and their music list, etc. Let me give you 2 seconds on the organization that I work for. You saw in Scott's presentation, the distracted driving expert is a guy named Dave Teeter. He runs the distracted effort for the organization that I work for. It's called the National Safety Council. What Scott may not know is Dave got into the business because his son was killed by a distracted driver. So he's a former marketing guy, business guy, who's devoted his life to spreading the gospel of the terror of distracted driving. Green Cross for Safety, we're chartered by Congress. Okay, there's the Red Cross, which comes out in disasters. There's the Green Cross, which was founded before OSHA 100 years ago. We work in communities, we work in workplace, we work on the roads. Clicker to Ticket is one of our initiatives. We've been involved in safe driving initiatives for many years. I'm not a safety geek, okay? I'm a media guy. I create videos and websites. I got hired by the National Safety Council to create a program for parents about new teen drivers, which was relatively fortuitous for 2 reasons. 3 reasons. The first 2 was I have 2 teens. The other one was I was out of work. The program has been up and running. My son is a graduate of DHS. My daughter is a senior. My son did not have the benefit or the terror of having me working for the National Safety Council. My daughter hates my guts because I work here. But you as a parent, I as a parent have a choice. Okay? We make those choices every day. So the first question is, how safe will my teen be when they start to drive alone? And the statistic, cars are getting safer every day. They really are. Deaths are dropping. Car crashes are the #1 killer of teens. More than suicides, more than homicides put together. It's car crashes. So, what does that mean? Imagine all of DHS empty. No kids, gone. Imagine all of Highland Park empty. No kids, gone. Every year, that's what happens. All those kids, gone. And the people that they killed. Meaning that it's not only kids. About 1/3 are the driver themselves. About 1/3 are the passengers. About 1/3 are the unfortunate people that they run into. And the rest are motorcyclists, bicyclists, pedestrians, just people. They get killed when youngsters are behind the wheel. So they created this program for parents to lay another guilt trip on all parents. Basically, you are the answer. We are the answer. There's nobody else. There's not the police officer. There's not the principal of the high school. There's not the driver's ed teacher. It's you and your kid. You and your kid. You and your kid. Okay? Not you and my kid, you and your kid. You are the answer. So, because I'm in videos and websites,
I'm a pediatric emergency medicine doctor. I take care of patients at a big city hospital. My name is Allison Tobey. I'm the medical director of pediatric emergency medicine at the University of Chicago Children's Hospital. One of the hardest things I do is tell a parent that their child was severely injured, or even worse, has died because of a motor vehicle crash. The statistics are staggering. More teens die of car crashes than anything else. Remind your teen how important it is to wear a seatbelt. It may not seem like they do, but your teen does look up to you. From the moment your kid turns around and faces front in the car, they are watching your behavior. Never text. Don't talk on the phone while you're driving. Don't even reach over into the glove compartment for something that you need. Set an example. Drive the way you want your teen to drive. For more ways to keep your teen driver safe, visit driveathome.org. I don't ever want to meet your teen in here because of a car crash.
We really believe it. You are the answer. So what's the number one cause of teen car crashes? What's the magic bullet? What can you do to keep them all safe? Any ideas? Alcohol, speeding, not wearing a seatbelt, driving at night, passengers, cell phone use, texting, distraction. All of them are causative factors. As Scott mentioned, texting is really a very small percentage of crashes. It will increase, but it's a very small percentage right now. The real reason that kids crash is because they don't know what the hell they're doing out there. Honestly. I mean, they think they got their license. The state gave them a license, right? They know what they're doing. How many hours did they learn for? How many hours does the state of Illinois require for a teen to practice before they get their license? Anybody know the answer to that? 50. All right. How many hours does the state of Illinois require before a person gets a license to cut hair? Anybody know that? 1,500. Okay? The only person I know who dies in a bad haircut is my daughter. Okay? She dies in a bad haircut. 50 hours is zip.
And they don't even check.
It's on the parent, okay? It's on the parent. The parent signs. The parent signs, okay? It's on you. As Scott mentioned, it's not only about texting.
The challenge here is that I'm going to try to distract you.
We'll see how you handle, a couple everyday tasks. Grabbing a drink of water.
Turning on the radio, and then changing the radio station.
All right, go ahead. Full throttle.
Now you grab that water bottle for me.
Take that bottle up. Open that up for me.
You'll press the cone. Slow down. Open the water bottle. I'll take the water bottle.
All right, I'm going to turn the radio on there for you.
Now I want you to turn on the radio. Find the station. Watch out for pedestrians. Whoa!
Turn that radio on for me. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Isn't it awful?
That's so much harder. I had a little bit excited there. Windshield wipers got all over.
All right.
just like a few seconds of opening a water bottle, I could have read into like 3 or 4 things.
I was surprised at how much I didn't see.
In case you can't figure it out, the name of my initiative is driveithome.org. Driveithome.org. Go there, okay? So, you know, it's like, this is kind of like videos from my vacation. I want to show them all, but I can't, you know. But there are 35 of them there, okay? And some we did with Second City, you know, so they're humorous. And there's one that somehow I skipped, and I don't know how the hell I did that. I just got so excited. Somewhere here. Let me show you this one. This was one which explains different...
Your new teen driver has a newfound sense of freedom, but they really need a dose of reality from you. Getting a new license starts an incredibly dangerous time for teens. After they go from supervised to unsupervised driving, they are 30 times as likely to be in a crash. And car crashes are the #1 killer of teens. This year, thousands of young people will die in teen car crashes, the equivalent of almost 50 filled school buses. Why? Mostly because of inexperience. Good kids who passed their driver's test, gone, wiped out. A teen's risk of being in a car crash is highest when they first get their license, because that inexperience leads to mistakes. Driver error accounts for 75% of all crashes. They are new drivers, after all. Take driving at night. Second nature to you is relatively new and potentially deadly to your teen. 40% of fatal crashes happen at night, most before midnight. Or driving with passengers. You do it safely all the time, but for 16 and 17-year-olds, the risk of death increases 44% with one young passenger, doubles with 2 young passengers, and quadruples when carrying 3 or more young passengers. Or speeding. While more than a third of young male driver fatalities involve speeding, many of these crashes occur because the teen was driving too fast for the situation, something that can only be learned through experience. That's not to say teens don't engage in risky driving behaviors. They do. Nearly 1/5 of 16 and 17-year-old drivers killed in crashes have been drinking. More than half of young people killed in crashes were not wearing seatbelts. And what about the newest risk? Driver distractions. Just talking on a cell phone makes it 4 times as likely a driver will be in a crash. The research shows it doesn't matter if the driver is talking on a handheld or hands-free device. They are both equally dangerous. And texting is even more risky. Nearly 60% of young people admit to sending and receiving text messages while driving. That can be fatal. Texting while driving increases the likelihood of a crash by at least 8 times. So, what is the best way you, as a parent, can help your new teen driver drive home safely? Stay involved. Be a good example when you drive. Help them learn by making and enforcing rules. And remember, ride with your teen often and have them practice, 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 even after your teen gets their license. The tools you need to help you keep your teen driver safe are at driveithome.org.
usually like to show this one a little earlier so that after the bummer of the music and all the misery in here, there's a little bit of funny stuff at the end. Okay, so I'm sorry for that. But, you know, let's talk about what parents can do. I mean, there really are strategies. We know what causes crashes. We know it. I work for a very research-based organization. I mean, I didn't know it before I worked for them. You don't know it. Nobody expects you to know it, unless you read that book that your kid got. I suggest you do. If not, you know, go to drivethehome.org. My job is to distill it down, you know, in a couple of bullet points so you get some stuff that makes some sense. All right, family rules can be stronger than state laws, okay? We love that there's, for instance, let's see, I forget what I wrote here. Okay, we love that the state of Illinois allows you to drive one passenger. Not really. You heard that statistic that said it's 44% more likely that a kid will be in a crash if they have a passenger. The state of Illinois allows them to drive, and more if they're siblings. You got brothers and sisters, you could fill them up. Doesn't matter. Won't be ticketed. You think it's more distracting to have a sibling in the car or a friend? You know, the state, as we can see what's going on in Washington, laws get passed for a variety of reasons. And the right thing is not necessarily the reason the law gets passed. If you lived in California and 14 other states, no passengers would be allowed for the first year. California is the largest state in the union, in case anybody's been under a rock. You know, if they could do it there, we could do it here. And the point is, just because the state allows you to do it, doesn't mean you have to allow them to do it. Okay? You're the boss. You're paying the insurance, you're paying the car, you're paying this, you're paying that. Sorry, kids. Parents are the boss. Make sure you know who your teen is driving and who is driving your teen. If you wouldn't get in a car with the adult that your kid's driving in the car with their kid, don't let your kid get in that car. We have very generous corporate sponsors. Allstate Foundation, Toyota, GM. Allstate sponsored a multi-city tour for the rollout of drivethehome.org. I spoke on a stage all over the country with we call them victim advocates, people that have had the tragedy strike them. I can't tell you the number of parents that were there who lost kids, not because they were driving, but because they were passengers. Know who your kid is getting in the car. Do you trust that kid? You've grown up with that kid. Do you trust them? I mean, what are they driving around, like a bag of fruit from the Jewel? Or your kid? Observe the nighttime driving restrictions. Okay? The police enforce them occasionally. I mean, there's no slam on the police. They got a lot of stuff to enforce. You know, I don't know if it's primary or secondary. I have no idea. You know, meaning, do they stop it for a violation, or do you have to have something else wrong with your car before they can stop? I don't know. Maybe the officer can tell us later. But the point is, regardless of what they do, you can decide. I know that it's 50% more likely that a kid is going to get into a crash when they're driving at night. All right? When they get their license, maybe it's not a good idea to let them go driving at night by themselves. You might say, okay, driving around at night. It looks different. In case you hadn't noticed, and I know you have, I'm being a little silly. It's all different at night, okay? It all looks different. Lights are in your face. It's a whole other scene. So observe nighttime driving restrictions. And I know there's a lot of temptation to blow them off. I mean, that's kind of what we do in this town. Well, so-and-so said, I don't have to worry about being home by 10 o'clock. It's okay. What's 15 or 20 minutes? I know there's only one kid allowed in the car. Well, you're coming home from, baseball practice. You can take the team. You can take 3 kids. No big deal. The way that you can judge what your teen is doing in the road to... my kid, when he came home from college, drove me down to someplace on Waukegan Road, And he entered traffic turning right onto Waukegan out of a parking lot, and I thought I was going to die. This is a kid who had been driving for a year and a half, and I thought I was done with that. And he pulls out in front of a semi-truck going 45 miles an hour, and I'm like, whoa. It was actually worse than that. It wasn't exactly whoa. All right, what's the next? So drive with them after they get their license. It's not like, here, you got the keys, goodbye, don't bring it home on empty. I don't know how you guys learned how to drive, but that was pretty much my dad. Good luck, God bless, don't crash the car, don't bring it home on empty. Check in every week with them. Have them drive you somewhere. Have them drive in the rain. Have them drive in a microburst or something, I don't know. Have them drive in the worst conditions you can imagine, with you in the car. Because they're going to surely experience it without you in the car, and it's better to have you in the car. People ask me all the time, what's the best car to get for your new teen driver? None. Have them share your car. You have to restrict their access to a vehicle for the first. The real super danger time is the first 1,000 miles, the first 6 months. Okay, that's the real off the charts. People die a lot here. The first year is pretty bad. But when you can control access to a vehicle, when you can say, you want the keys? Where are you going? When you coming home? How are you getting there? Who's getting? All the questions you kids hate, expect a lot more of them if your parents are going to do the job, okay? If they don't do the job, you'll hear nothing. The other thing is you have to be a good role model for a variety of reasons, okay? Scott touched on it a little bit. You always have to buckle up. You have to buckle your seatbelts. You'd be surprised, you'd be amazed at the number of people that don't. Does anybody have to be told not to drive buzzed? Obey the laws? I mean, I am literally, this is like so embarrassing to my family, I am literally the only person that drives 55 miles an hour on any expressway in this town. They flip out. What do you want to teach your kids? What do you want to show them? It's okay? How above the speed limit is okay? How much? 5 miles? 10? 15? 20? What's good? Never call, text, take a call. When you drive, never. Never. I don't care if they're in the car or not in the car, okay? Here's the reason. Let's say, well, I mean, other than the fact that you're more likely to crash, and before I tell you the reason, just because the automakers, I love Toyota, I love GM, they fund my program, okay? Just because they put it in the car doesn't make it safe. They used to put metal dashboards in cars, okay? Remember? There used to be like, anyway, just because there's hands-free text-to-speech recognition devices, I can show you the studies. I only brought the distracted brain one about why it doesn't matter if it's handheld or hands-free. It's the same, your mind checks out. It's not about holding the device. It's about where your mind goes, right? So if anybody wants to read the research and see the 78 research studies, here. Or get it online. But why you don't want to be in a car calling your kid or your husband or your wife, because God forbid you should get in an accident and they're on the phone with you, what do they carry for the rest of their lives? They caused it. And you know what? You might have dialed them, but they're talking. Don't talk in the car, okay? Don't do it. It's my advice. You can do it if you want. So one of the videos we did was not at DHS. I'd love to do one at DHS. This is one with another kind of North Shore high school.
My name is Laura. I'm 17 years old.
Dylan, I'm 18.
My name's Pooja. I'm 16 and I'll get my license in exactly 1 month.
I'm going to get my license in August.
My mom and my dad, they're both very good role models because they're actually very good drivers.
They follow the speed limit for the most part. My mom always followed the rules, always wore a seatbelt, always stopped at stop signs.
My dad was a better driving role model because he was more strict about it.
My mom is a good role model, but she gets really, really mad really easily, so anybody could, make her mad while she's driving.
She taught me good things, but like as driving herself, it wasn't really a good example. So I do as I say, not as I do.
My mom's kind of a crazy driver, cutting people off sometimes and speeding.
My brothers are the same way. They speed a lot.
One thing my dad does is he tailgates a lot. When I carpool with adults, I see them doing scary things such as texting, eating. They'll be looking at their phone, and they'll start shifting over in lanes.
My brother, sometimes he gets really angry at other drivers and screams, and that can be kind of scary.
The driver is texting while driving, and I am a passenger. I feel scared because they're not paying full attention to the road.
I see some people texting and it's upsetting because one of my biggest fears is people being a statistic or being killed in car accidents.
The driver was eating something actually. They can wait for that text or they can wait till they got home or something to eat.
We all like learn to put on our belts. That's something my dad really enforces. But that's something he doesn't do himself. I always tell him, you need to put your belts on.
Even though my dad taught me how to drive, he wasn't necessarily good at following the rules.
She'll look for stuff in her glove compartment while she's driving, and that kind of scares me, if she crashes because she's crashed in the past.
My dad popped out his phone and started reading emails while driving, and I freaked out, so I had to yell at him.
With 1 second, they could crash and they wouldn't even realize it.
If a kid sees their parent not wearing their seatbelt or speeding or anything like that, then the kid's going to do the same thing.
It's kind of hypocritical if you say that we should do something and then you don't do it.
So if I asked your kid, what do you do behind the wheel? Would you be embarrassed, or are you cool with it? And I'd like to ask your kids, but I want them not to be yelled at when they go home tonight. So driveinghome.org. What do you teach her? What do you teach? How do you coach? What's an effective teacher? What kind of lessons do you impart to your kids? I'm talking about after they get their license. I'm not talking about how do you put in there. Anyway, driveinghome.org has weekly emails that you can sign up for that will tell you what to practice with your teen after they get their license. It will talk about all the new driver risks, and there's videos about all of them, so I'll be very happy if you tell me that you watch them. We talked about the practice tips. So there's a thing we call parenting agreement, which we find is a very useful discussion tool. It's like when you sit down across the table, the kitchen table, next to your child, and you start to talk about what can they do with this car and when can they do it. We actually get them to sign an agreement. And parent signs it, teen signs it, and we talk about what the risks are and what does a child have to do to carry another passenger, for instance. Some of you might say, well, the law said, well, we didn't do all that, but, you make up your own laws in your own house. You make up your own laws in your own house. This is what it looks like. Final thoughts. So, on a summer evening in 2007, 4 DHS kids were on Waukegan Road, driving southbound. And they were over by McDonald's, by Kate's Road over there. And a car coming in the opposite direction, in the northbound lanes, swerved in, hit that car, carrying 4 DHS kids. They were all 16, 15, 16, 17. The car that was hit rolled and pinned a 15-year-old DHS student, and she died. That vehicle contained 3 17-year-old DHS boys who had just come back from parking. They misjudged the turn. They just got their license. There were no speeding was involved. No alcohol was involved. No texting was involved. It happens here. You remember, or maybe you don't, I don't know, the homecoming incident a couple of years ago when 2 boys died. And because they hit a tree, because there was alcohol involved. But it happens here. It's up to you guys as parents. If I got to tell you this, I'm in the wrong business, or you're in the wrong business, I don't know. It is okay to say no to your teen. It really is okay to say no to your teen, okay? I believe, this is my, people hate to be told how to parent. I hate when people tell me how to parent. But you are not the only one saying no. Your kids always say, oh, I'm the only one. My daughter got asked to homecoming by a guy who wanted to pick her up a couple of years ago. He had his license for 6 days. I said, are you shitting me? I'm going to let you get in his car? But Dad, you're the only one. Everybody else. I said, okay then. And it turned out we weren't the only ones, okay? There are other ones out there. Figure out who they are. Be friendly with it. It's called getting a community of people you can talk to who care about this issue. It's okay to say no. You're not the only family enforcing rules, though sometimes it feels like it. And your kid will always try to isolate you and make you feel like you are. Remind your teen their only job when they drive is to drive. It's not to do anything else. They have to be mindful because there's all these other turkeys out there doing something else. Okay? And you see them. You drive every day. Let them earn privileges. Don't give them everything at once. Check in on them. And always be that role model. Always be that role model. I've got my card up here, my business card, and some other propaganda. You can call me, and I'll be happy to discuss with you what I know about this business. Thank you.